Nicole Ben Simon here. Just a question for you today. What is your relationship with addictions? And how do you feel just hearing that word, the word addictions? We automatically go into, oh, I don't have addictions. And obviously there are different types of addictions. There are the more obvious ones, which could be substance abuse, could be drugs, could be alcohol, could be smoking, and all of the physical elements of an addiction. But there are also other addictions that are not as blatantly obvious, and they're the ones that hide inside of our psyche, and unless we have the awareness that we have this addiction, we cannot overcome it. And so these types of addictions that are more subliminal, I should say, are the ones that shape our personality and the ones that shape our behaviors. And one of those addictions could be being addicted to drama. Being addicted to drama. Now, we all know someone who is addicted to drama. Everything is a problem. They call you in the morning to sort of download all of the things that have happened that are just what a person who is addicted to drama sounds like. And usually they're very hard to be around because they almost enjoy spinning in their own stories because it gives them status, it gives them value with, they think it gives them a purpose. And so we also have other addictions, and another addiction that is more subliminal could be addiction to burying your head in the sand, addiction to avoiding conflict. And people who usually have that addiction often come from a place where they have been hurt in the past, and they have been told, maybe even as a child, that not that it's not safe to speak up and that they don't have a right to speak their truth. And so they choose to, see injustices and see things that are not right, but there is this pattern where they choose to pretend it's not happening. And we all know people like that as well, that are fearful of speaking their truth for, the fear of being victimized or being punished. And this usually comes from a childhood trauma. And so when you do release the trauma from your childhood, you end up being able to recognize when something comes up that is an injustice, and you say, no, I'm going to speak my truth, and I'm going to support this person who has been unfairly treated. So you do see the growth that happens when you have the awareness that once you would bury your head in the sand because that's what you felt was safe. There are other people who are addicted to being obedient, and they just constantly put others in a position of power so that they can serve them. And this may come from a trauma where they're told where they were, as a young person, told that they have to conform and comply with all the rules, regardless of what you think. So that's an addiction as well, because it's a subliminal one. It's not something that's obvious, but when we're repeating a pattern and we do it enough times, it becomes a ritual, then it becomes a way of life, and then it becomes an addiction because we have an automatic response without thinking. And it's when we step back and we say, oh, I know I usually do this, but maybe I want to have the awareness that maybe this does come under the umbrella of an addiction, and maybe I want to work through that and understand why I am this way and empower myself to move through this false belief system that I have no power. So ultimately people pick up addictions, people adopt addictions when they want to escape from a reality. They want to escape from a reality. They want to have a safe way, which they perceive as safe, a safe way to ignore what's really in front of them. And people who turn to recreational drugs are running away from a reality, and they're often just a numbing a feeling and an emotion that exists within them by using substances to take them away from having to deal with that reality. And so a lot of us do adopt different types of addictions. There could be an addiction to being the victim. We all know them as well. Oh my goodness, I've been this, and I'm always the last one that they think about, and I've been hard done by. We have friends, we all know friends that are addicted to victimhood, and they just want to be in that victim because on some level, being a victim is serving them. And this is all subconscious. This is all subconscious, right? On some level, being in that victim mode is giving them the permission to continue to complain. Can you see that? And so they're not actually working on themselves, they're not growing, and they're not healing from the false belief system that they have to be the victim. They're actually perpetuating it. And so how do we pinpoint the addiction and then work on it? Because ultimately, when we're on our healing journey, that's what we want to do. We want to have the self-awareness to be able to be the observer of what's going on with us, and to be able to say from a loving and balanced perspective, this is what I normally do, but I don't want to do this anymore. And once you make that decision that I don't want to be the victim mentality anymore, I don't want to run to drugs and alcohol every time I feel pain, I don't want to create drama just to have drama in my life because it gives me I think it gives me a purpose and it gives me attention. When you start seeing the real reason why you have turned to this addiction, why you have adopted this addiction, then you can really start to sit with yourself and go into that space of where it is that you feel the pain and where it is that you feel that you need to run away from that reality, and actually face it. And actually face it as an adult and be able to say to yourself that the more I repeat the same thing, the more I will get the same results. And so when you are truly ready to not repeat this pattern, you are able to do things differently, to catch yourself at that moment where automatically you're about to do something and say, well, actually, this time I'm not going to do that. Actually, this time I'm going to sit with the why. Why do I feel as though I want to run to this addiction? And once we can do that, once we can stop ourselves and we can observe ourselves from a loving place, we really can help ourselves. And some people do need to see a practitioner to help them with that, to help them to have the awareness of this automatic behavior that's all coming from the subconscious mind. And once you are able to clear this unconscious behavior, once you're able to find the meaning behind what is driving this behavior, then you automatically are dismantling it, because you cannot heal what you don't have the awareness of. If you don't have the awareness, you can't fix it, right? So if you want to escape from knowing that you have an issue, you will never be able to fix it. But once you face it and you say, yeah, this is not comfortable, this is not really what I want, I don't want this moving forward, only then can you really focus on healing that aspect of yourself that is driving you into this false sense of security. And once you do that, you shift into another frequency, you shift into another reality where you can look back at your old self and you say, wow, this is how I used to handle this situation, and it was so disempowering, whereas now this is how I handle it. I stick by my truth. I am sovereign. I speak my truth, or I say no to something that I should say no to, and I have the power to do it, and I do it from within. And no, I won't continue along this pattern because this pattern no longer serves me. So I invite you to look deeply at yourself and see where you can find a subconscious repeating pattern that goes on. And if you are ready and wanting to heal through it, recognize that it is some sort of addiction that you have picked up along the way, and try to get to the root cause of it, and to reframe your mind, reprogram your mind that you no longer need that, because now you are an adult and now you're safe. And when we reprogram our mind and we tap into all of these things that are driving us from a place that we don't have an awareness of, which is the subconscious mind, once we heal that, once we have the awareness of that, we can become so much more powerful. We can become so much more powerful, and we can heal a lot of our wounds that no longer need to be there. We've learned the lessons now. So thought I'd share that with you and see where that resonates with you, and whether you have things that have not yet been addressed that you're ready to look at, and you're ready to move through and work through for your highest good. Because if we're all helping ourselves to release trauma and unfavorable behaviors, think of the world that we're going to live in. Think of the world that we can live in when people have done the work on themselves and are not triggered and traumatized by so much. And people then come back to, self-love, which means that they can love others and be kind to others and respect others. There's just, we all have to do that work on ourselves. We've got to do it on ourselves first, so that we can go out there into the world and be the best version of ourselves that we can be. So have a beautiful day, and I will see you soon.